Hello everybody, this is What98, aka Greenjolt, and part 1 of why Batman is the greatest superhero ever, of all time. 50 points to those who get that reference. I gave the fanboy reasons. In this part I shall give the actual reasons why he is the best of the best around. There are a lot of very good reasons out there about Batman being the best superhero. His mastery of many styles of martial arts, his weapons, the fact that he refuses to use guns because he values life, including the people like the Joker, amazingly. Him being able to defeat every member of the Justice League with failsafe plans, just in case they go rogue. Also being the greatest detective, way better than Sherlock Holmes, and more. These are all very good reasons. But for me, they just make the sundae. In my opinion, the number one reason that makes him the greatest, the reason that adds that cherry on top of the sundae, is his psychological and mental states, and how he just doesn't crumble beneath the stress. I guess in short is his resolve and resilience is a better word for it. Anyway, Bruce has a harsh childhood trauma. Aside from falling down a well, startling a group of bats which then fly at him, causing him to have fear of bats as a kid, he also had to watch his parents get shot dead by some jerk who wanted money and was left alive and untouched physically with his dead parents on the ground before him. This was shortly after the well incident. Also, shortly after their deaths, Gotham City quickly became a city corrupt and ruled by the criminal underworld. You couldn't even trust the police. I'm assuming based off of the Dark Knight movie that this is because Bruce's father was actually the head of the CEO of some large company and that he was using his money as a proper example to better the city and not in a corrupt fashion. Furthermore, when Bruce becomes Batman, he has to deal with the villains and try to bring Gotham back to a good city without killing, while still being under all of his past misery. Bruce is pretty much a psychiatrist's wet dream. One could write a book about all of his issues and make a lot of money. The book would probably be about 1,000 pages long, if not more. Personally, I think the best way to discuss this is via some of Batman's villains. If you think about it, a number of Batman's villains actually represent some of his psychological problems. Let's start off with the Riddler. The Riddler is a criminal that enjoys toying with people's lives and forces Batman into situations where he has to solve very difficult, mind-bending questions. For me, the Riddler represents the questions that Batman sometimes confronts in his own head. Batman makes a great deal of sacrifices and hard choices for Gotham City and its citizens. When you watch the movies, cartoons, and read the comics, you can sometimes get the impression that he is wondering if all he does is worth it. Will this city truly become a city with less corruption and death? Will this pain ever end? Wouldn't it be easier for me to end this through death? These are questions with gray answers that Bruce somehow manages to ignore them, just pushes them away and continues what he does. You may not actually see him asking himself these questions, and he may put a one hell of a defensive face, but you can still get that impression. The next villain is Scarecrow. Scarecrow is a villain that uses neurotoxins to induce his victims into a hallucinatory state where they see their greatest fears. It's a toxin so powerful that it can kill the victims. I mean, like he said in Batman Begins, the mind can only take so much. Scarecrow represents Batman's fear of failure. Bruce is afraid of failing and letting down Gotham City. Batman is Gotham's symbol of hope. He is afraid that if he doesn't succeed in bringing the villains to justice, to find a way to lower Gotham's crime and murder rate without resorting to murder, then Gotham will never be saved. He is afraid that if anyone finds out who he is, they will take away the very few people he holds dear in his heart that are still left alive. Alfred and Gordon. Alfred, as you may know, is pretty much like Bruce's grandfather. Alfred has been in the service of the Wayne family for a little too long personally, and has cared for Bruce. He's pretty much like kind of a substitute dad, I guess you can say in a way. Anyway, and as for Gordon, just before Batman was born, Gordon was one of the very, very few police who were not corrupt. Batman values this man and respects him. He does think of Gordon as a very good person and actually doesn't want him to die. I mean, let's face it, if these two people were killed, I don't really know if Bruce could truly handle the pressure. I don't know if he would be able to not crumble. Next up is Poison Ivy. Ivy is a villainess that uses her seductive beauty and deadly poisons to kill people. Mainly men. I wonder why. In a sense, she is Medusa, only instead of stones, it's plants. Poison Ivy represents Bruce's desire and yearning for a normal life. Bruce wants to fall in love, have a wife, a family of his own, spend his nights not fighting crime but actually socializing and partying. He craves these things, but he can't have them. He knows this. He sacrifices it all for the good of Gotham City. This actually leads up to the next villain representation, Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face. I shall use the Dent from the Dark Knight movie for this. Dent was the head of the DA office. He was, in a sense, the legal Batman. He fought crime and brought criminals to justice using the law. He didn't use fear. He didn't wear a mask. He didn't sneak out at night and pummel punks to a pulp with his fists. He was Gotham City's White Knight. Until his trust in the people of Gotham, mainly the cops, was destroyed, taken captive in a warehouse, and blown half to hell due to the explosion. With his fiancée dead to an explosion in a different warehouse, he goes on a short-lived quest for vengeance. Harvey Dent represents the split personality of Bruce. On one side of the coin, there's the rich playboy. On the other side, there's the vigilante. These two mentally clash at times. In one episode of Batman, the animated series, Bruce is in some sort of a coma stasis where he finds himself living the life he always desired. His parents are alive. He's married to the woman he had known since he was a kid. If I got that part wrong, please tell me. And best of all, someone else was playing the role of Batman. He's finally living his dream. But as the episode progresses, Bruce realizes that this isn't right. His fantasy world slowly becomes twisted, and at the end, he and the Dark Knight fight each other, and Bruce accepts the responsibility of Batman. Even though Bruce would love to live a normal life, to find someone to replace him, he cannot. Who else would be willing enough to take up the mantle of Batman and do what Bruce has done for so long? Who else would make the sacrifices and choices that Bruce made for Gotham? Who else would play Batman the way Bruce played it, without taking life? Bruce feels as though no one would truly do that, so he continues to be Batman and the rich playboy. He continues to deal with his split personality. Lastly, the Joker. The Joker is chaos in human form. He is essentially, in a religious sense, one of Lucifer's top dogs. The Joker cares nothing for society. He cannot be bought, reasoned, bullied, or controlled. Yeah, I'm ripping the movie off. Shut up. The Joker represents the very world that Batman lives in, both physically and mentally. All of the misery, death, and other issues he faces and has to cope with. The thing is, Batman could easily end this all by killing the criminals, but doesn't. Not just because he values life, but because he would destroy the trust the citizens have for him. See, the way Batman fights all the darkness and chaos in Gotham City is through a means of contradiction. In a sense. A bat is a creature of the night. A creature that is sometimes, if not most of the time, represented, referenced and or associated with darkness and evil. Yes, bats are his childhood fear that he has conquered and now shares with his enemies. But it is not so much that. Bruce Wayne takes this creature and turns it against the darkness. He turns the bat into a symbol of hope, a weapon for the light. He's fighting fire with fire, minus the murder. With this, he is showing the citizens of Gotham City that there is hope, that you can believe and trust in good. If he was to take away one life, even the Joker's life, unfortunately, then all the trust and respect that people and other heroes have for him would be gone. Batman willingly lives in his own hell on earth, continues to deal with it. Like I said in the beginning of the video, this is why Batman is the greatest superhero ever of all time. It's his resolve and his resilience. No matter how great the pressure of his mental state, no matter how hard it is for him to deal with it, he doesn't crack. In honesty, I don't even think Superman could do what Batman does and not crack. I hope I have done a reasonable job at this. If there is anything that may seem out of context or something like that, please let me know. My name is What98, aka Greenjolt, saying,
Give me a hug.